21世紀のセキュリティはあってないようなものだからな。はあ、周到じゃないか。
Oh, that's a comment on today. The security of the 21st century sucked. That whole century sucked.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with another episode of Mobile Suit Gundam 00. We come back, as we will from now on, well, every couple of episodes anyway, with notes and a board. So let's go ahead and hit that board first thing. Alright, where I have a board changelog. Now, typically I don't do these for like the first episode because it's usually just adding everything on there. And in this case, I really haven't. I've just added the names of the people that I've added to the board. I didn't list the connections yet. I added Patrick Colasar, Alleluia Haptism, Tierra Erde, Ribbons, Sumeragi Lee Noriega, Saji Crossroad, Louise Halavi, Setsuna FCA, Kinwei, Aeolia Scheinberg, Wang Lu Mei, Sergei Smirnov, Graham Aker, and Billy Katagari. And just to get any questions from the comments section, I marked the two civilians we see as being members of the Union, as they are in Union territory. So I'm considering them Union civilians.
Every time I hear Smirnoff, I just think of the drink for some reason. Which is dumb, I know, but yeah.
They come from Russia.
Kind of dumb, I know, but it is my brain. That's how it works. Oh, that board is simple. So far. We'll see what happens. I mean, for those who don't know, well, there might be some of you who watched the first time around when Theta watched this with Griffin, so you know that Theta has watched this before. If you don't know, then you're like me and watching this for the first time. So Theta is going to do his best not to spoil, which he's very good at, unlike me, where I suck at that. So I can trust Theta that he's going to try to spoil it. And hopefully in the comments also, please, we love your comments, but please try to keep it to either the episode that we're watching or stuff that we already watched.
Thankfully, I'm also benefited with a shit memory, so we could be watching this and there'll be a ton of, oh, I don't remember that.
So let's go on to the comments. Actually, notes. We make notes, you guys comment. That's the rule. Gundam Below, Episode 1, Celestial Being. That opening scene really sets the stage, a cruel world where children fight against incredible odds. One of the most effective setups I've seen in Gundam series so far, and it couldn't be more war on terror coded if they tried. Which, since this came out in 2007, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because the only thing I could compare it against is something you haven't seen before, which is Iron-Blooded Orphans. And I think this is probably more effective than that. Because, I mean, Iron-Blooded Orphans is giving you a kind of different perspective, but it's still the opening perspective. I just feel like there would be other Gundams that would do the same thing. Show you how bad the world is in the first minute.
Yeah, I mean, we can argue that UC with its intro of the giant, space debris hitting the planet. But it's very, how can I say this? It's very top-down. It's very distant view. And by the time you get to say what's happening with say Amuro and the civilians get killed, it's like, yeah, but that could be a one-off, right? You're told this grand things are happening. Here, you're like, no, we're gonna drop you right in the middle of a war zone. These giant robots are killing kids and civilians. This kid just only has like an assault rifle, trying to survive. This is the world. This is the real world you're living in, right? You're gonna see other things, but don't forget that this is the world. These things happen in the world. A bunch of civilians dead. Somebody talking about God and cleansing the world or whatever. And this kid who's going like, there in this world there's no God, right? And then the Gundam shows up, right?
Yes, it also behooves the fact that you just mentioned the opening of Universal Century where it's showing Operation British. That much like that, this is also the past of the show.
Yeah.
It's not what's currently happening. I have a note about that later. Because it is an effective start, but I don't feel like it's an effective continuance.
Maybe, yeah.
This is how the world was. I mean, 6 years ago, but it's how the world was. They don't show the rest of the world that way. Except for until episode 2. But they showed... Sorry, I'll get into that note after we get there. My first note is really just a timetable thing. AD 2297, Human Reform League's orbital elevator's first electric transmission, implied to be also the Union's as well. AD 2301, in the Kyrgyz Republic, a Gundam appears in the midst of a Middle Eastern conflict and saves Setsuna from being killed. AD 2307, the AU orbital elevator. Sorry, the problem I'm having here, well, beyond other things I described to you off screen, is that we have, we're watching Gundam Zeta right now as well. We have the AUEG, AUG. Yes, and now we have the AU. It's not the AU. Anyway, the enact testing interrupted by Celestial Being, which starts Mission 1, which Phase 1 of Mission 1 is mess up the AEU weapons testing. Phase 2, destroy the AEU mobile suits stationed on Heaven's Pillar. And Phase 3, defend the HRL orbital station from terrorist attack. And then, in Episode 2, we have Mission 2, which was only Phase 1, apparently, intervene in regional conflict in southern India, island of Ceylon.
Sri Lanka, former Sri Lanka.
Well, I have a note about that.
Talking about time. So the year is 2307 AD, the early 20th century. We have Anno Domini as our calendar. So in theory, this is our direct future, right?
Yeah.
And space elevators instead of space stations so far. They will be lunar stations and space stations, but we only see the space elevator. So
sorry, I thought you were going to continue.
No, that's it.
Well, it's just got interrupted a bit there, and it's like, the element that when they put AD in a Gundam timeline,
yeah,
I always think, so it's our timeline. This is our future. Except that Gundam Build Fighters is an AD. So there should be little kids in the background playing with, and massive tournaments of virtual Gundam fights going on with a bunch of kids. Granted, this is like 100 years in the future of that, right? No. Sorry, this is 200 to 300 years in the future of that. I don't know how far Gundam Build Fighters goes. I think it's supposed to be like modern day, but still, it's pretty funny for me to consider the element that, one, we're a little bit further away from Gundam Build Fighters, and then after Gundam Build Fighters, space elevators.
Yeah.
Well, without even needing to get into the rest of the show for the rewatch for me, obviously not for you, the opening clearly labels Sergei as a member of the Human Reform League and Graham as a member of the Union. They're standing in front of the flags. So,
thing to say about that. My next note. Are GN particles this universe version of Minovsky particles? They seem to operate in a similar fashion. They allow for flight. They jam communications and radar, right?
Yeah, I mean, literally similar note. So I guess GN particles act in some similar ways to Minovsky particles, as the Exia didn't show up on radar and communications around it were blocked.
Also, the Enact is solar powered. Is solar powered? Interesting. Well, we know that everything here is solar powered, because that's the main way of powering the world. But making mobile suits that are solar powered is also interesting. I guess they also have massive batteries when they're,
I don't know if it actually is solar powered in that sense.
That's what they say.
No, in that sense, though. I mean, I think it's a sense that everything is solar powered.
Yeah, so everything has batteries, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, that's, again, matching you note for note here. Well, except for that, I had to jump ahead for my GN particle one. So the Enact is the AEU's first solar-powered mobile suit that also appears to be inspired by the Union's flag. By the Union's flag mobile suit. Also, apparently, as a means of making up for how far behind their orbital elevator is.
Yeah.
Well, that's what either Graham or Billy says.
Wait, you are an ace because you never lost a mock battle? I don't think that's how it works, buddy. Also, cool vibroblade, I guess.
Well, I appreciate that. We're going to be note for note for a while here.
Yeah.
Mine starts at something else, but I do go into the same thing. Graham Aker is the ace of M-SWAD, whatever M-SWAD means. By the same token, Patrick Colasar is the AEU's top ace, who only brags about having done mock battles, so not looking good when it comes to AEU expectations.
Yeah. In actual combat, I have no experience. And when I did, I got my ass handed to me.
Well, to be fair, I think one of the Gundam Meisters also says that they've only done tons of simulations.
Yeah. Well, but they don't brag about being an ace. A simulated ace,
I mean, that's another... Again, I have a note coming up somewhere around here about how bad the world doesn't actually seem to be. and the fact that your best combat ace only has simulated experience implies that they're not doing a lot of fighting, which has to then imply how good the world actually is.
Well, there seems to be terrorism and suicidal terrorists. And
Yeah, but your
fighting.
top combat ace isn't going to go up against the world's top terrorist.
Yeah.
That's two completely different fields. I mean, we've watching a different show. I mean, that'd be a cool show to watch. It's just terrorists, the anti-terrorism unit in a Gundam universe. Like, show us the technology that's not giant robots.
And of course, they had to say the line or a version of it. It's a Gundam. What is a Gundam? Is it the machine? Is it the person?
I mean, they spent the time to print it on the front of the thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to be useful for anything. I don't know. I put this note after the thing, but I'm keeping a Legends of the Galactic Heroes style timeline for the show. I only mention it as a note for the fact that the Human Reform League is celebrating its 10th anniversary, which turns out to be for its orbital elevator's first electricity transmission in 2297. Should have put that above the timeline that I read.
I didn't put a note, but it seems also there's the treaty that seems to be encompassing these three nations was called the Human Reform Treaty, I guess.
No, so, I don't think so. They don't mention a name for it. They just call it the treaty. I know because I have a note about the treaty as well.
If the Ptolemy is the new hero ship, it is a bit of a departure from the space carrier look set by ships like the White Base. And I like it. I really like the ship. It's just
they mentioned two different names too.
Yeah,
the Ptolemy and the Ptolemos. So conceivably, it's two ships. I know specifically they mentioned the second name in the second episode.
Yeah,
because two of our guys launch from that in the second episode. Just a listing of the mobile suits and their pilots. We have Setsuna and the Exia, Alleluia and the Kyrios, Lacon and the Dynamis, and Atera and the Virtue.
All Greek coded, Greek deities or Greek words.
Virtue?
Oh, yeah, I mean Latin. That's actually has Latin roots. Virtue, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Exia is or not, but Virtue clearly no.
I do like my sniper types are there, and they are going for non-lethal shots. Let's see if that lasts.
I mean, it didn't last in episode 2.
Yeah, well, it doesn't, but that's what I wrote in it.
Yeah, I remember I made a comment of how they're not going non-lethal, and then I'm rewatching episode 1. It's like, oh, he is kind of non-lethal here. But then maybe it's because he's going through some like PTSD when he's staring down at the thing, and the other guys are like, oh, thanks, we're going to come up now. And yep. Nope. Human Reform League orbital elevator is called Heaven's Pillar and is also regarded as the second orbital elevator.
So the Unions must be the first one then.
Yep. I mean, that's my interpretation.
Talk about the treaty. So far we have the AEU, the Advanced European Union, and the Human Reform League as governments, but some kind of armaments treaty binding them.
Yep.
Not told exactly what the treaty is or who started it or even, well, I guess we can guess why,
I guess I'll skip ahead to that one. So there is some sort of international treaty restricting the amount of military power each of the supernations, I keep calling them supernations, are allowed to have, and the AEU is breaking that treaty by building up more than it's allowed, with Celestial being just exposed. Worse than that, though, the AEU is apparently producing more than they are allowed and selling it off to anyone that can afford it.
Such a peaceful world after all.
Still pretty peaceful, again, when your top ace only has simulated hours.
We also have energy shielding tech and a suicidal terrorist with access to mobile suits.
Well, we know where they're getting them, as per my last note.
Yeah.
Again, I think we're living in a mix of modern, like not with the technology, I mean, but with the like how bad is the world? A mix of modern with a leaning towards Demolition Man.
Yeah. But again,
things are actually pretty good. Better than modern day.
I mean, I'm leaning also as sort of the divide between the global north and the poor, rich global north and the poor global south.
Except that's not the case here either.
It's not strictly geographical. It's more of overall alignments and blocks and because we have wars in the Middle East and
right. But remember that we're in
supernations
right now, and those supernations encompass most of the southern geography, with one massive exception.
Yeah, but it might be that in the core of those countries, like in North America, Europe and China, there's peace, but in the periphery, right?
I'm just going to cover another note real quick, just so I get this out of the way before we start describing locations. The Union of Solar Energy and Free Nations seems to include all of the countries of North and South America, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. It's very confusing because it's like right off the edge. But when they're just talking about the countries, they only show the names of places. So they're showing the names Japan and New Zealand over there. Its orbital elevator is in South America. The Human Reform League includes the least populated part of Russia, China, India, Thailand, and Indonesia, which I really have to imagine makes traveling from Japan to Australia that much more of a pain. Its orbital elevator is seemingly in the ocean, somewhere to the east of Indonesia.
New Guinea, yeah.
So what?
New Guinea. Off the island of New Guinea.
And actually, it's a distance away. It seems to be nowhere, but, it's not a very dedicated map to show every island, so I don't know. The advanced European Union includes the part of Russia most of us Westerners imagine, as well as Europe, Turkey, Iceland, and Greenland. Oddly, Africa isn't shown to be a part of it, but its orbital elevator is shown to be there.
They just control the immediate area, and then everything else is up for grabs.
So that's why I say the large notable exception is that Africa, well, I guess also the Arctic, isn't owned by anybody.
Well, I guess I'll jump to my note of the second episode that covers that. Okay, we have space elevators to provide power for the world via solar energy after global fossil fuel collapse, because these are massive mega projects only supranational entities could build them. Union of Solar Energy and Free Nations, essentially the US, Human Reform League, essentially China, and Advanced European Union, well, the European Union.
Yeah, I only jumped ahead to cover where these countries were, since we were talking about poverty in the global south, the element that the global south is occupied by these powers, with the, again, exception of Africa. Whoever the girl and the guy at the party were, they referred to the Gundam Meisters in an informal third-person way, making it seem like they aren't with them. And then, however, we see them later on an island where the Meisters are. So, either just a quirk of talking to themselves or a related organization to celestial being.
I mean, there is I didn't make a note of this, but there's mention that in order to develop this technology and support it, they may need, big power or medium power support, right? Either very rich, super corporate, mega corporation or something like that,
I mean, there's a thing in episode 2, which I'll get into if you don't get there before me.
I'm going back to episode 1. If you didn't know that the Human Reform League was East Asian Chinese coded, the musical cues during the scramble really clue you in. The music either comes from a pipa or a guzen, which are two traditional Chinese string instruments. It could be a third one, but I'm not. The pipa is the guzen is the one that Mao Zedong, the one that they're playing, that they play with the fingers on top of the instrument. And I think the pipa is the one that is more like a guitar.
I'm confused why you threw in Mao Zedong.
No, Mao. The demonic cultivation, which we're watching.
Mao Zushi.
Mao Zushi.
I was like, why are you invoking a Chinese dictator, essentially?
Yeah.
I already read that one. Assuming that celestial being had nothing to do with the attack on the pillar by the terrorists, then yeah, Sumeragi predicting a terrorist attack would be a pretty amazing feat. If this wasn't the first episode, they really talk her up with this, but we don't have any background information about it. Are they implying she's clairvoyant, or does she have a source of intel that she's working with to make statements about what will happen and how to fight it? One would be incredible, the other would be expected.
Although we might have a third option, depending on what the heck was that room with all the red lights that she was in, but,
Nope. Once again, you're confusing Tiara with Sumeragi.
Yeah.
Tiara was the one floating in that red room with all the lights.
Yeah.
Sumeragi is the one drinking on the bridge.
Yeah.
Sumeragi is the one you'll be drawn as, or Hartley, you've seen the picture. Tiara, not anything. The Gundam Meister. The one with the purple hair, that's Tiara.
Yeah, that's Tiara. Talking about terrorists, yes, they were suicidal terrorists, which I guess means that the gloves are off them. Hence why that guy got smoked by the BFG.
They're not
He was going to ram the control.
suicidal. They were just so dedicated that they were willing to die, which I believe to be two different things. A suicidal terrorist runs in with the expectation to kill themselves for a greater good, like your atypical explosive jacket wearing terrorist. Whereas a soldier going into a battlefield has the expectation that they might die. That doesn't make them a terrorist. These guys riding that shield to the degree that they might fucking explode, and one of them does, as the guy's pointing it out. It's just, we're going in there with the expectation this is dangerous, you might die in this mission. I don't believe that they were going in with the intent to die for the mission. But
I would say suicidal when the guy decides that the last guy decides to just ram the control station, right? Like, I'm going to do this no matter what, right? I think it went from survival unlikely to I don't care, I'm going to die, I'm going to take you with me.
I mean, I'm just saying that there's so many degrees when you're throwing out the word suicidal. There's also the difference between a suicide mission and a suicidal soldier, right? Suicidal soldier might do crazy shit. Like, what is the word? There's a word specifically for throwing yourself into dangerous situations with the hope to die, but not yourself wanting to kill yourself. But again, I don't believe that they were suicidal. I just believe that they were diehard.
The question is why, though?
I'm sure we'll find out. So yeah, Tokyo is listed as being the Union Special Economic Zone. So I guess despite being super close to the Human Reform League territory, it belongs to the Union. And I should point out that this note, I read episode 2 note, which went all the locations of everything, and this is an episode 1 note, just noting that.
Well, then I'll skip my note because clearly it was wrong. Because it hints at them being distinct from others as opposed to just being part of one of the groups.
Yeah, no, the fact that they threw the Union in there, and the Union being a group. Yeah. And again, not for nothing, I read the other thing based on the map.
At least the show is self-aware enough to call out the contradiction of what Celestial Being is doing. Like, you're gonna fight fire with fire and don't expect everybody to burn? Okay, cool. That's an idea.
I'm expecting that's your last note from episode 1.
Oh no, I have more.
Oh, because my matching note for that is my last note from episode 1. So I'll jump ahead to read. That next time on really hits home everything I recall criticizing the show about. That is why the pilots must be detached from their emotions. Is this really what the righteous would do?
I mean, it smacks a little bit of Gundam Wing, except that here, everyone else outside of Celestial Being is like, no, we're being pretty practical, and this is what we're doing this, and we're being bastards about it, but we recognize that we're being bastards about it. We know this. And Celestial Beings are the ones like, no, we have to be philosophical about this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
okay. In fact, I'll even fold in another one of my notes on this one, because, in fact, I think that's the one you're probably referring to. They want to solve the problem of war with more war, and thus we have this show's hypocrisy. Every Gundam has one somewhere. We got this one nailed in episode 1.
Kudos for being self-aware. Let's see if they use it for anything. Well, you know the answer to that. I don't. We'll find out. I'll find out. Talking about philosophical meanderings, my last note for episode 1, it has begun. Humanity's reformation. What? Excuse me? What does that mean? I don't. You're talking about personal, spiritual, political, reformation from what? And how are you going to get from where we are now to whatever this you're reforming to, right?
I just didn't take note of what the Gundam Meisters were saying because...
No, this is the guy who's talking to the 2 people on the balcony. That he's talking to. Yeah, he's talking to
Ribbons and the other guy who didn't get named.
Yeah, the guy with the long hair is drinking. He's like, hey, Ribbons. He says Ribbons, blah, 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 blah. I just skipped the part when he says Ribbons, right? Like,
well, I mean, for me, it was mostly the Gundam Meisters. We're saying, like, the same level of nonsensical shit.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned during the reaction, the recorded message from Celestial Being is surprisingly pixelated compared to the rest of the show. Could be any number of reasons for that. Famously, the main sci-fi trope is basically that video technology in the future never outpaces that video technology of whenever the movie or TV show came out in. All those future CRT monitors could be a case of that.
Yeah. Although I think it's supposed to be something else because we see regular video. And
it's definitely something else. I've got other notes for episode 2, which would very clearly spell this out. And if you missed it, I don't know. I mean, you could have missed it.
Could have missed it, but no, I know I didn't. I don't think I did. Now on to episode 2. I'll skip my first note because I already said it. Now we are in a 3-way Cold War between these national blocks, and Celestial Being is the wild card here, or seemingly to be the wild card. We don't know exactly, where exactly.
I would argue that the terrorists are the wild card. At least Celestial Being announced what it was about and what it would do. Terrorists will still strike it randomly.
Seemingly, which real life terrorists actually don't act that way.
No, sure they do. They do a thing, and then they take claim for it.
Yeah, but they have a purpose in what they do. Now, it might seem crazy to the people on the receiving end.
Yeah, but my idea, what I'm throwing out there is that not every terrorist organization announces themselves up before time. You get a groundswelling of a general sentiment from people who don't want what's going on, and then you get an extremist show up out of that sentiment or group.
Yeah.
So it can still seemingly come out of nowhere. So Celestial Being targets are any ongoing conflict for any reason, as well as anyone that aids, abets, promotes, or provokes war, which I think may encompass some of our previous end-of-episode notes about the other ways to suppress a population and what response it would engender.
Yeah, but again, it's still, the question is how far the totem line, because that covers wide area of all the things we could intervene in. We're educating ourselves to be able to intervene, but how low down the totem pole we go? Like, hey,
well, I mean, we talked about before the element of financial suppression of a population, right?
Yeah.
Well, are they going to attack the IRS? Like, what do you do in that response? Because what happens when that suppressed population rises up and tries to take control of anything for themselves? Obviously, they will respond to an uprising of a population, because that is an obvious military threat, or something equivalent to a military threat, whatever you would call that. But the idea is that if you suppress them financially and they respond with violence, they're the ones responding with violence, and you're going to put down you're going to be on the bad side of this. I don't know how I want to phrase it, but you're going to be on the bad side of this. Celestial Being benefits the existing powers.
Which is something I said about other Gundam shows as well, specifically See Destiny, that, I went to a very long rant about it. If you can, it will be coming up on YouTube soon, but it's already on Patreon.
YouTube at the moment is currently at the point where Theta wants to be a puppet of Durandal.
Yeah. Even in the 24th century, the U.S., the Union of Solar Energy and Free Nations is a self-serving interventionist power with delusions of grandeur.
I do have to think that was probably written just as a, tip of the hat, because to have not changed in 300 years seems a bit, especially when oil isn't apparently as important anymore.
The intro says that in spite of solving the energy problem, all these governments are still posturing and, doing the whole Cold War business and arming themselves and all that. So it's more than just oil, right? It's primarily power.
It's ironic to me that you keep calling it Cold War business when Russia has been divided in half.
Cold War doesn't require Soviet Union versus United States. Cold War is,
famously, though, we call it that because of the one that we had.
Yeah.
When we say someone is in a Cold War, we're lampshading the Cold War. The strangest thing about the opening narration of Episode 2 is that when it gets to introducing Celestial Being, it says that it says it in an almost triumphant way. Now there are people who dare challenge this world. I say it's strange because the narration of how the world is doesn't include anything negative. We worked together, we made limitless power a reality, building great solar collector around the Earth, and despite it being fragile, we haven't destroyed it or ourselves yet. Hell, not even in the narration, but at least episode, we also got the arms limitation treaty thing. Really feels like we're on our way to a peace in progress. Remember, the horror that we saw at the start of Episode 1 was 6 years ago. We have no background on it, or even if it's a common occurrence around the world. Anyways, in the context of the narration, it needed to hit us with something more negative in its own speech before hailing Celestial Being as the ones to change the world.
There's a part where they say, the nations still keep arming themselves and posturing and whatnot, so...
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything, though. they're posturing by what? Having a come look at our new enact? Hey, you guys from the opposite side that are like, we're posturing too? Hey, come guys, come look at it. It's cool. Bring your Hummer. Our guy, our top ace, who's only done simulations. Again, they're painting a pretty good world. That's why I said it's better than our modern world. And the only thing that we know is negative is a thing from 6 years ago. I mean, we'll know a thing about Cylon, but that's still two things. I don't know, and a terrorist attack, but I would say there's always going to be terrorists. Even in my example before, Demolition Man, we had people living in the sewers coming up to rob a McDonald's. Those were the terrorists of Demolition Man.
Yeah.
Moving goalposts of what you define as a terrorist. But I mean, there's always going to be an extremist that's upset about the status quo.
My next note then. I do like the camera work in the Ptolemy's launching sequence. It also looks like some kind of magnetic rail launch system as well.
Yeah, linear scale. I don't know, they keep saying that over and over again. I should also say that, I think, is where they say the second name. As though the bigger thing is the main ship, and what they're launching from is the other thing. Because you got the Ptolemos, which is what they refer to when they lean in on the big ship, and the Ptolemy is the thing that they're launching from. So, seems a bit ironic that the appearance of celestial being would instantly cause the super nations to start suspecting one another of being responsible for the Gundams themselves, thus creating the tension needed to create more conflict across the globe.
I also got to mention that those elevators are super fragile. This being Gundam, I wouldn't be surprised if one of those elevators eventually comes down and crashes into the earth and kills millions of people.
Two things about that. One, that was my point about how good the world is right now. When I said before, I even mentioned the fact that they said that the elevators are super fragile, and yet 10 years now, no one's done anything. Yeah. We had terrorist organizations where they attack the top of them, not the bottom of them. That would fuck everybody up. We're terrorists. We're not evil. I appreciate that, by the way, that the terrorists are like, we live here too. We have a point in our point is about a thing.
Yeah.
We want to make everyone aware, and we want to stop these assholes. We don't want to kill ourselves. My other point was, one of my favorite sci-fi novels is the Red Mars, Blue Mars, Green Mars, where literally that happens. That they make a space elevator connecting some point on Mars, I can't remember where, to one of the moons. And I think it's like Phobos. Yeah. And that's one of the first acts of the revolution against the Earth government on Mars, is that they think they destroy the connector between Phobos and the top. So the thing just wraps itself around Mars. I think it's like 1.5 times. And everything in the path just fucking destroyed, which is domed cities protecting the people inside from the environment of Mars, which is not breathable or livable yet.
Yeah. And if you're trying to make it breathable and livable, that would still create massive amount of destruction.
I don't know. I think what it does is it frees up some aquifers under the ground by destroying the top of them and kicks up some atmosphere. I mean, it's nothing to the long-term effect of the story, but to the long-term effect of the story, to the long-term terraforming of Mars.
So the Gundam OS name is Individual Information Attestation System, clearly showing the Gundam seed influence in design.
I don't know if it's influenced by that at all.
Well, having a Gundam that starts up with a 2 OS, GOS, like it has an operating system.
Yeah, every Gundam has an OS.
Yeah, no, but older
Amuro had a whole book to open up and went through the stuff. It had an OS. It just didn't have a GUI, I don't think.
Yeah, not a GUI.
That's what GUI, yes. You can say that. I'm just saying that I think you got to take your point of references for the era that the show came out in. Yeah. I mean, obviously, G Gundam didn't have. Well, did it? Text pop up, right?
Well, no, I don't remember.
I'm sure text pops up around that guy at some point. Like he's in a dome with not dome. He's in a bubble, and the bubble has screens on it, so it's got to have some sort of readout. Interestingly, the island of Ceylon was renamed in 1972 to the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, so I guess at some point in the future it gets its name changed back, as the Union Advisor even refers to it as former Sri Lanka. In current events, I guess the Human Reform League is afraid that the Sinhalese in charge of the island would disrupt the energy transfer going along the seafloor to the east of the island and are backing the Tamil forces that control that side of the island to ensure that disruption doesn't happen. Also, given their orbital elevator's position, I guess that line circles its way around the north of Australia, through Indonesia, and back into the Indian Ocean to head to Ceylon before going to India proper. I guess also indicating that the HQ might be in India rather than China.
It looks like it's in China because it has a sort of big, what's the big former capital building of the last emperors, the Red Palace, the Forbidden Palace look to it, but yeah.
I don't know. I just know I'm tracking the apparently the main power cable for that space elevator, and it goes up into India instead of what could have been a much more direct route straight to China.
This is something I said during watching it, and it bears repeating. I hope those particles are not radioactive, because they're standing, the girl and her bodyguard standing right behind it, getting showered with all this, light. Like, oh, this is radioactive. Our lives just got shorter, way, way shorter.
Conversely, they could have gotten superpowers.
Yeah, no spiders though.
So the readout at the reporter's computer, I passed it through a translator, and it was horrible. I didn't pass it through multiple translators because all of them were fucking horrible. But my best takeaway, Aola Scheinberg, PhD in engineering and physics, born in 2051, date of birth unknown, gender male, place of birth unknown, family composition unknown. The largest piece of information translated horribly in multiple translation software, something about in 2090 when he was 39, something about basic theory of solar power generation, something about the attention of society, guarding operations and the concept of human-shaped machines, inventor of something. 2101 studied the activities of something, and it ends with a bit on 2307, the current year, and this has to be wrong translation, as it says he's the founder of a private martial arts training group. Yeah, that's the guy you imagine doing martial arts, right? The bottom box also already has something in English, saying, material that can get to know him is only a thesis of the engineering theory and physical theory that he left now. The one to be paid attention, especially, it does say especially twice, is a basic theory of the photovoltaic generation system by the orbit elevator. To our regret, it was not possible to achieve by technology at that time, and social attention was thin. He is advocating the concept of the person-type machine that does construction and the defense work of the orbit elevator.
In other words, he's the inventor of the mobile suits. Yeah.
Is that your main takeaway?
Yeah, and there's mobile suits, the orbital elevators, the whole thing.
I mean, there's something even more massive in there that I feel like you're not mentioning.
Which is?
That he was alive 200 years ago?
I have a note about that.
Yeah, I'm saying that I know you're not trying to spoil your own note. It's just the element born 2051, and I even put in here current year 2307. And I mean, I'm only bringing that back up due to the previous note I had about his recording being all pixelated.
Why does a Gundam have a docking station for a Haru?
Because it was made to have a Haru.
Apparently, Haru serves as a co-pilot of sorts. I don't know. You take care of the apparently that's what. But then why not all the other ones have Harus? I mean, if the Harus are so useful.
I mean, we haven't really gotten a camera down on the controls pads to know that there's not one.
Doesn't seem so, though.
Well, I mean, that's the benefit of doesn't seem so, doesn't mean it's not. Just means it doesn't seem like it's not. Well, I'm at my last note now. Graham-Aker, a man who is obsessed with everything you are. And that's the reason I didn't get drawn as him. The seed that will grow into its own tree. You'll find out why I chose not Graham-Aker.
Designated villain, I guess.
Dad, I want to share his nickname, but I feel like
Graham Cracker.
No, he has a very specific nickname. Look, there's two guys in the show who I will say have very specific nicknames: Patrick Colasar and Graham-Aker. And
let's leave it there.
Yeah, I would say it's gonna be 26 episodes before anything
We'll
comes of
find out.
this.
This could work to our advantage, especially if we get our hands on those machines. Yeah, that's a big if, buddy. That's a big ask. That was the president of the Human Reform League, or the leader of the Human Reform League, saying, "Yeah, this could work to our advantage." Like, well, wait, if you can pull it off, sure.
I was trying to get a thing in my head. Who said that? I was like, that has to be Billy or Graham. One of those two said that. And you're like, nope, president.
Premier or Supreme Leader, or I don't know what title is. My next note, since you already finished. I like the contrast between the tank-like ground units and the faster fighter craft-like Gundams. Now, I know there are other Gundams that are literally styled as mobile suits, as fighter craft. We saw them from the European Union, for example. But still, I like that. That idea anyway. More like it's like BattleTech versus Gundam in a little bit, in a way.
Well, I think this show specifically does that thing that I said that I really loved from Mercury, which is to say that it had 4 different mechanical designers for the different mobile suit types, so that each country's and then celestial beings' mobile suits would all look different from one another, which is something that Witch from Mercury very successfully pulled off, that every corporation's mobile suits would look very different from one another. Although I would say I think Witch from Mercury did it better, because they did a good job of expressing the specialties of each company. Like, one company has one that's good for long range sniping and whatnot, and it looks like it, that you would guess that from looking at it right off the bat. Whereas these look like, the Human Reform League, or is it the AU, kind of looks like Mech Warrior.
Well, I guess the kid gloves are off, because they started murdering people left and right.
I want to point out that this is the second time you've said the kid gloves are off.
Yeah.
You can't take the kid gloves off 2 times.
But 2 different people can take their kids off.
They can take their kids off?
Yeah.
Should be wearing your kids. Kid body armor is something that Joker does.
Yeah, I know. Now, this is something, I'm going to send you an image. I don't know if you're going to post it or not. Let me see.
Oh, man, that's your dick. What are you doing?
No, it isn't. Virtue Gundam reminds me of the Dorcas from Virtual On. That's a mecha game from the 1990s that I loved to play back in the day. It had both a cabinet and a...
I have no idea. Hopefully you, the viewer, knows what the hell this is. I mean, you just described it, but I'm saying.
The game is Cyber Troopers Virtual On. It's from the virtual series of video games. Includes like, virtual fighting and everything else. From Sega in 1990s.
I mean, you say that, I think Virtua Fighter, which not this.
There were a lot of games that had the virtual name tag to it. So it's a series of games, included this, Virtual Fighter. There's a Virtual Racing, so that's what I mean by that. So the overall.
Again, I know Virtua Fighter from the arcade, so even then, I'm like not even in the same space.
So this goes to the thing that you're telling me I should notice about. So the founder of Celestial Being, at least its public face, one Aeolia Schenberg is for all intents and purposes a 200-year-old ghost. If he's been dead 200 years, then he's, I say virtually in the sense of they're calling up on his name and his message, but unless he's stuck in a wall somewhere with cables still be kept alive or something like that.
So the Emperor of Mankind is what you're imagining.
Yeah.
Or that guy from Babylon 5.
Yeah, or Mr. Vegas from a game I hate. So, yeah.
You mean Mr. House?
Mr. House, yes.
I did not know you hated Fallout New Vegas, which I actually love, and am currently enjoying the Fallout TV show, which is now in Vegas.
This is why I'm not watching the Fallout TV show.
Well, actually, it takes place, this isn't a spoiler thing, it takes place 10 years after the games, so
yeah,
you're still distant also, but Macaulay fucking Culkin showed up. Like, what the hell? He's part of the Legion, if you didn't get that spoiler to you.
Yeah, I don't like it because it has little giant roaches. Ugh.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And I don't like the whole New Vegas. I think
that only, in the show, I think that only comes up once.
Yeah, it wasn't the intro. It wasn't the trailer. That was bad enough.
Well, I mean, in the show, though, I think like you can get through the entire show, and I think there's literally only one rad roach attack in the entire fucking show. Surprising, but, it only happens once.
I can tolerate it in the games because I can, blow them up or set them on fire or disintegrate them. So it's like, okay, I took care of that. But in a show where I have no control over it, I was like, ugh.
I mean, also
That's
the
too
thing that
much.
you're talking about, Mr. House, isn't really the same thing. He's just like in a pod.
Still alive.
Yeah, no, I just mean your idea that you're like all wired up into a wall or something like that. It's like, well, he's just
He's
in a
wired
pod.
to the system. He's wired to the systems of his tower. So yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the better example of that would have been those guys in that one Fallout vault where they're all in a virtual reality system. Like those guys are. Anyway, getting a little off topic here.
Yeah, but like New Vegas, I played it, finished it, sold it for 39 cents. And talking about Graham Baker,
Acre.
Something I picked. Acre. It's an acre or baker?
Acre. No
Acre.
B.
Okay.
In his entire name, actually. There's no B in his entire name. It's Graham Acre.
Yeah. Love that Graham Acre's English VO is the same as Duo Maxwell from Gundam Wing.
I did not put that together.
Like, because he's very calm throughout most of the 2 episodes, and then the final confrontation, he's so excited. I was like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar.
I mean, you know me, I've done this plenty of times where I'm like, that guy sounds familiar, and I go on a whole a whole diatribe of telling you, hey, this is this other guy that we know from this other show. Because I used to do the Voice Actor Hall of Fame for the channel. Voice actors that we've heard across multiple shows. And I think the winner so far has been one guy who's been like 7 different voices. But, I should also say, when I'm rewatching, apparently you also are rewatching it in English. Because it's the opportunity that we have to watch both the original and the dub at the same time.
Yeah, the dub is not that bad. We heard much worse dubs in this channel.
But yeah, I guess Duo is, even though literally we just got done Gundam Wing, Duo's English voice actor just doesn't stand out to me.
Well, it did the moment he got so excited about fight. I was like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. That sounds like Duo when he's all excited to fight to do something, right? Like, yeah, it has to be the same guy.
Yeah, for me, it was just generic white guy voice.
Yeah, and those were my notes.
All right, then. Well, that is everything that we brought. No comments yet, because obviously nothing's hit YouTube. So, that said, let's go ahead and hop on in and see what we get.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
I'm talking about Grand Acre, yeah. He's that's a sentimental being.
Even though it clearly is, because they're right behind him. I mean, he's not moving incredibly fast. You can see he's just kind of drifting from side to side.
I guess that's a known technology because he was using it.
Oh, also he had a name for it.
Yeah.
But no, also, the idea is that we've seen some of them using energy weapons, and like the Human Reform League uses very clearly bullets.
Yeah.
I guess it was the AU that used
vibroblades.
Well, I mean, a vibroblade, yeah, but weren't they also the ones that were shooting energy beams?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, because those are the ones that were being attacked during the first mission. So. And I guess this is our first contact with the Union flag itself, which, the Enact was based on. So I guess that's where they would get the idea to do that. So I guess maybe both unions use energy weapons and the Human Reform League uses bullets.
Projectiles, yeah.
Or I guess maybe the AEU uses a mixture of both?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Actually, sorry. The element here is that the the flag there used a physical weapon, not a beam weapon. And it would seem that the vibroblade you just mentioned, that the AU would also use physical weapons. I'm assuming that if the HRL is using bullets, they're not going to suddenly pull out a beam saber. Would be funny. We just went completely different ways. We decided that beam weaponry was the best way to go hand to hand. But bullets,
Yeah.
man, you can't beat bullets.
They're cheap and they're plentiful.
Yeah, we had a backup supply from the last 100 years,
Yeah.
200 years.
Also, the funny thing is he wanted a piece of the Gundam and he dropped his shield, so he just recovers his shield from the ocean and he has a piece of it. Right? Unless he picks it up and, you know.
世界を震撼させたガンダムマイスターに新たなミッションが下される。それは人類に対する神の
I'll bring this up here in the viewing.
変革への
So maybe commenters can answer me. I've got the thing, which is the... What did I call it again? Tactical forecast. I've got the tactical forecast extras. You guys let me know when they're supposed to be watched.
Yes.
フラッグ1機を失ったとしてもお釣りが来る。接触時に付着した塗料から足取りをつかめるかもしれないしね。それにしても若かったな。
Even the paint is a clue.
話したのかい？
How do you know that?
モビルスーツの動きに感情が乗ってい
That's how we can know that.
Oh, I guess.
Graham Acre.
ガンダムロストしました。
振られたな。
Yeah, why didn't he take out your carrier? You just
he was trying to
instigated
follow
a
him.
fight. That should be the thing.
I guess he was trying and they just outpaced him.
Get me pictures of Spider-Man.
数時間以内に人格指摘の公式声明が出るぞ。爆を開けとけ。原稿できました。お。
That's quick. Data room. That's what those, I guess those are the plans to... I will continue to talk because I'm drinking, but now you can hear my thoughts.
Well, she wasn't talking before.
I think that she was. It could have been wrong, but yeah.
イオリア・シュフェンベルグの血縁は彼の代で完全に途絶えています。
彼の資産の行方は
You could just say he didn't have kids.
何も。
おそらく手を加えたんだろう。21世紀のセキュリティは合ってないようなものだからな。はあ、周到じゃないか。
Oh, that's a comment on today. The security of the 21st century sucked. That whole century sucked.
No argument.
議会の報告用に資料を作成しておいてくれ。言い訳もな。
Heaven's Pillar, as we already... Well, that's Tierra. I can see Bot had that purple hair anywhere. Oh, it's all three of them. Now it's all four of them.
何かあった？ベーダに報告書を提出した。後で閲覧させてもらうよ。まあ、全員無事で何よりってことで。ティエリア、空の方はよろしくな。俺たちは次のミッションに入る。命令には従う。不安要素はあるけど。お待たせしました。ごゆっくりどうぞ。ミルク。
That was
Because you're
a
a child.
awful position. Yeah.
しかし、本当にできるのかい？機体を起動エレベーターで
Well, Veda is a name I don't have on the board yet, so...
予定通りコロニー開発用の資材に紛れ込ませた。重量が同じで搬入さえクリアしてしまえば以後のチェックはないに等しい。特にここではな。まさしく盲点だね。僕たちに
Talk about lousy security in the 24th century.
プトレマイオスの活動時間が極端に限定されてしまうところかな。
4つしかない太陽炉
In regards to what?
秘密事項を口にするな。
悪かったよ。
ティエリアのトレインが出
I like the fact that he says, "Don't tell me my secrets." He doesn't get like, don't tell me what to do. It's like, okay, I got it. I got it. I got it, buddy. Don't worry about it.
空に続くリニ
They really like throwing out
Actually,
that
it's a
word
curved
linear.
train. Yeah, it's curved because it can't be truly linear. I guess, well, every line is, all lines are curves and not all curves are lines. So, technically correct.
Sure, it's also the second time you've said that on this channel.
Yeah.
The last time we had an argument
true.
about it, but I don't care.
お待ちしておりました。
Missed them by a mile.
空はいかがでしたか。
No, we weren't saluting. The sun is like right fucking there.
お察しいたします。では指令がお待ちです。どうぞ。その前に正論へ立ち寄りたい。しかしそれでは私は自分の目で見たものしか信じない男だ。指令も了承され
Or
る。
one good eye, I guess.
お供いたします。
That's fine.
Yeah.
You didn't have that thing where you get the scar and you get the bright white eye to imply that it's blind.
あのような機体が存在しているとは想像もしていませんでした。研究する価値があると思いますが、
上もそう思っているようだ。ガンダムを目撃した君たち二人に転属命令が下りた。
対ガンダムの調査隊ですか。
新設の部隊。
That's quick.
正式名は
It has to be because Gundam should be a jet.
They say it's a new threat.
The newly formed. Yeah.
技術主任を担当するんですか。
上はそれだけ事態を重く見ているということだ。早急に対応しろ。
はグラハム・エイカー注意。ビリー片桐技術顧問。対ガンダム調査隊への転属受領いたしました。驚いたな。君はこうなると予見していたのかい。私もそこまで万能
Let us showcase our CGI.
It didn't really work out though, because the fact is their feet are moving, but the floor is also moving not with their feet.
Yeah. Here comes the IRA.
カトリックとプロテスタントというキリスト教の宗派同士の対立が発端と言われていますが、両者の溝
Well, that's not exactly true.
Yeah, my two favorite characters.
北アイルランドの対立図式を取り上げて、
Origami.
工学部なのにどうして歴史の単位
Are they in? I guess they're university. I guess. Not high school.
軌道エレベーターの保持とスペースコロニーの開発が中心となる。各国の技術者との交流のためにも歴史観を養う必要がある。最初に言ってなかった？
理解はできるけど。
あら、そのお
That's a lot of hair.
留学できてるんだけど。
それについては
Well,
感謝してる。
maybe I need to mark her on the board as a different country.
2年後には留学もおしまいなのよね。
どうしたの急に。
ねえ、サジは将来のこと考えてる？
漠然とね。
If you like her, put a ring on it. That's what I said.
何？ちょっとルイス。女の子って。
こういう時追いかけるの。
Do your job.
はい。
Well, now I'm publicly embarrassed. I
Hotel
guess I have
Sunrise,
to.
by the way.
Yeah. Well,
ソフトドリンクかい？ここのおすすめはオリジナルか。
Oh, good. Now I get to connect these two on the board.
お、これは失礼。
I'll be leaving now.
いつもの。
yeah.
かしこまりました。
Also, for everyone in the audience who might be thinking thoughts, minor.
Yeah.
用意することをおすすめしますわ。
おお、それは楽しみだ。刮目させてもらうよ。
覗き。
Ah, the bodyguard.
Ribbons.
Yeah. You like to watch. Okay.
こちらです中佐。おー
Certainly commentary.
それで何か分かったのかね。はい。君。 セルゲイ中佐だ。ご説明を。
はっ。あれはモビルスーツの爆撃用オプションパーツです。材質は E カーボン。最新素材ではありますが、構造上目新しい技術は確認されていません。
搭載されていたミサイルは？
残留物を調査したところ、ミサイルは300キロ程度の誘導タイプ。ちなみにこのタイプを開発している国やメーカーはありません。
やはり
Custom-made missiles.
機体の受けた衝撃度から見て、
But no future
I like
tag
the
on the
fact that
shit that
they're-
they left behind.
Yeah. I like that idea that they're investigating. It's like, oh, well, we got this, you got that. They dropped this clue, you know?
戦闘データで確認したよ。やはりあの機動性を実現させているのは
光？はい。ガンダムの機体から光る粒子のようなものが放出されていたと。納得できる証言だな。レーダーやセンサーに引っかからなかったのはそのせいか。
あの特殊粒子はステルス性の他に
Yeah.
機体制御
At least 2 different countries coming up with stuff. And I guess the third one's just shit out of luck.
レイフ・エイフマン教授。
恐ろしい男じゃ。わしらより何十年も先の技術を持っておる。イオリア・シュヘンベルグ。ソレスタルビーイングの反抗生命に登場していた歴史上の人物。
Unless he went to cryo sleep or something. That's another option.
太陽光発電システムの提唱者だったな。諜報部はその線からガンダムを追いかけているそうです。叩いて出る誇りはあるまい。このパーツもそうだ。見せていい技術は使い捨てている。
Unclassified.
捕獲したいものじゃ。ガンダムという機体を。
同感です。
So it said 2 other countries.
この機体をチューンしていただきたい。
パイロットへの負担は
無視していただいて結構。ただし期限は1週間でお願いしたい。
ほう、無茶を言う男じゃ。
多少強引でなければガンダムは口説けません。彼メロメロなんですよ。
Yep.
私だ。何？ガンダムが出た？
場所は？
それが2箇所ありまして。
2箇所？同時行動。
Don't be surprised. We know that there's 4 of them. Grandpa President.
採掘権を発端とした内戦への武力干渉かと。
So that construction mechs.
Could be. Could be the AU is just making construction mechs and arming them and then selling them.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like the Gundams are like Space Marines, and everyone else is like Imperial Guard.
やめておけ。
なぜです？一機はタリビアです。ここからなら行ける。
わしは麻薬などというものが心底嫌いでな。焼き払ってくれるというならガンダムを支持したい。
麻薬？
奴らは紛争の原因を断ち切る気じゃ。
Oh, well, there you go.
Drug wars.
I feel like our underlying question is always, well, what about financial suppression? And they're like, we're showing that they'll attack the source of a conflict as well.
Don't do drugs, kids.
No, I mean, like, would they attack the IRS? Apparently, yes. If they're attacking narcotics, because the narcotics is the source of the conflict. If the government is suppressing the people of a nation financially, then they'll attack the bank.
Mind you, you just destroy the source of these people's living, so you know. Yeah. Oh yeah, I like this mission. I didn't kill anybody. About that.
It's also a counter argument to they support the status quo, because that was the status quo. So you don't believe anything we've told you all day?
Yeah. Bakemono.
エクシア、紛争介入継続、目標を駆逐する。
Like I said, you're in the equivalent of a tank, and he's in the equivalent of a fighter jet. So.
No, I think it's more like they're the equivalent of a tank, and he's the equivalent of a mobile suit. He's way more advanced than a fighter jet at this point.
Now we make our tanks into fighter jets by putting wings on them. A lot of
to top.
Yeah.
Thank God the enemy always lets you do that.
Yeah.
Hold on, guy. I gotta fold my wings in. Sergei takes the field.
Another vibroblade, I guess.
I guess Sergei is our 6 Marquise equivalent. I guess oddly, the Exius cameras are all in his head.
Yeah.
Because it was crushing the head, the cameras are all blacked out.
Yeah.
Any other Gundam, you'd have other cameras all on the body, so you wouldn't be blocked.
No, there's been all the Gundams that their heads, to destroy the head, they don't have any cameras.
Not the majority of them.
I mean, the Zaku certainly have.
Those aren't Gundams.
The Jims.
Also not Gundams. My example was Gundams. Any Gundam in Seed has cameras all over the body.
Ah, the random English. And he gets attacked now. Oh, no, okay.
I mean, it shouldn't be. This is their ship. Hopefully their ship wouldn't be somewhere dangerous.
I guess these sequences are pretty cool. Ptolemaios and Ptolemy. Yeah, you're right.
So either it's 2 different ships in one, or the launch platform has its own name.
Oh, okay. Minors, maybe.
I mean, she's the one that got called out for drinking on the bridge.
Wow, that's a on the nose name. Just use your own name.
Well, nobody knows who you are.
Yeah, but eventually they link your name to your face. So you can always have another identity, you know.
They don't know what he looks like. Dude, eventually he's in a Gundam. Oh, there we go. These two also connected. So the reporter is his sister, and they both live next door to the Gundam Meister.
今日未明、北アイルランドのテロ組織リアル IRA は武力によるテロ行為の完全凍結を公式に発表しました。
これによって400年にわたって続いていた北アイルランド紛争が事実上なくなり、新たな平和への道が開かれることになります。関係者によりますと、施設武装組織
すごいでしょ？今日習ったところレポートどうなっちゃうんだ。
It's a shame we spent all day at school learning about this.
Yeah.
世界が変わってる。
Question is, it's changing for the better?
Well, how can you ask that when the IRA just surrendered?
Well, but the reason why the IRA was surrendering is because the United States was suppressing Catholics, right?
The IRA is
Because,
surrendering because of celestial being.
So the underlying conflict is not being resolved.
I don't know, Lessons. Are you arguing for the continued terrorist organization, terrorist activities of the IRA?
No, I'm arguing for actual peace because, you disarm
There's a difference,
the IRA.
Lessons, between the people of Northern Ireland achieving a peaceful resolution and the continued terrorist activities of the IRA.
Yeah, but the reason why you have the activities of the IRA is because of the conditions of the Irish people in the Northern Irish state.
Yeah, but we're not discussing the conditions of the Irish people at the moment. We're conditioning. I don't know what's on my brain. We're discussing the continued activities of a terrorist organization. You're connecting the two because they are connected. But one is one thing good does not mean the other thing has to be bad. The IRA standing down doesn't automatically have to... Well, hold on. Next time on. Or not. Nope. Okay.
その国すら利用する国、陰謀渦巻く戦場にガンダムマイスターが赴く。次回、対外折衝。政治とは彩り変わる万華鏡。
Okay, the introduction, I believe, of what I think was Griffin's favorite character?
The blondie?
No, the white-haired one.
Oh.
Unless you're going platinum blonde, it's your blonde route.
In which case, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you shrunk. Like, I didn't look at the camera for the longest time, and then we were like having a conversation about the IRA, and you're like, I can't shrink down that low. I was going to do an example, but mini me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying the IRA standing down doesn't automatically mean that the Irish people are still going to be repressed.
Well, I think it does because the existence of the IRA and their continued activities is a fact. At least if that is the reality on the ground, let's put it that way. They still have support because the Catholic, Irish population of the Northern Irish state is being oppressed. Otherwise, they wouldn't really have a reason
maybe
to
that's
continue.
why. Also, another reason why they're standing down. Maybe they no longer have the support because the situation on the ground isn't the same. This is, in fact, 200-something years in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe the IRA is no longer needed because things aren't as bad as they used to be. Like I said, the episode 2 portrait of the future, the narrative that we got, doesn't seem all that bad. We now then have to look at like instances of, the worst of what's going on. But it seems like for the general population, if you're like part of the super countries and everything, it's just pretty good. When they show us like daily life is just a bunch of people in shopping malls. It's the 1980s American dream. I mean, if there was it not Rammstein that once said, "We all live in America"? Also, this is not a love song.
Yeah. That's the part of that song. They go like, "Oh, okay."
I think I'm finding that Rammstein songs are all basically the same. Kind of like listening to Linkin Park back in the day. It's like, okay, music, screaming, music. Rammstein is all poignant. Really harsh thing you're going to say, poignant.
Yeah.
I think I keep listening to Deutschland, and then in the middle of Deutschland is Deutschland, über alles. It's like, ooh, you shouldn't be saying that.
I mean, the whole song is about what is the real Germany, right?
Yeah.
So Germany is represented by a black woman. So
Deutschland, old, not so young. Was it young but not so old? I can't remember. Because I mean, that's the whole thing. They're going through the history of Germany.
United Germany is relatively new.
Oh no, I've read this amazing Reddit write-up about the meaning of every visual in the music video, because it's a great. Because I was specifically looking up the terrorist organization that is near the back end of the music video.
The Red Brigade, I think it is.
I can't remember. If you said the right thing, I think it would strike a chord, but that's not ringing a chord with me for some reason. which is also very super fucking interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one that comes into mind when you talk about terrorism and Germany, but there's more to it, of course. There's always more
Well,
to
it's also been a while since I read that thing. Again, it's super in-depth breakdown of everything going on there.
So overall, I mean, I'm liking the episodes. They're on the good. This is actually pretty cool. I'm still intrigued. I'm certainly on the intrigue camp of things like, yeah, I want to see what happens next. Well, this is everybody seems to act more or less logically, depending on, on the setup that they're doing, right? Nobody's going like, oh, we're going to go to deep end yet. I could be surprised. It could happen. I'm not saying it won't happen. But so far, I am liking what I see.
Like I said, I was a lot more flippant the first time around. There's also the element that these characters don't have any depth to them yet, I don't feel like.
There's hints there.
But we don't know what anyone specifically is about. Like, we're still trying to figure out what the organizations are about, or what their past is, what they're doing. We're still being set up with like a lot of mysteries. Like, how is this 200-year-old guy being the face of the organization? How do they have such high-tech technology, more so than the 3 leading nations of the world? Why are they doing this? And then, well, I mean, obviously the only one with any depth right now is Graham, because we know exactly everything he's about at the moment. We had a little bit of Setsuna's backstory from the opening of episode 1. The other 3 don't really know much other than, I guess, I would say one of them says Hallelujah a lot, but then his name turns out to be Hallelujah as well. Tara, Setsuna says he sends a report to, was it Veda? And Tara, who we've seen floating in a room of monitors, says, oh, I'll have to read that, implying that they're something along that like information chain, I guess. Tsumeragi has a drinking problem and is also the one that gives them the missions. I think that was implied.
Yeah,
say they're the tactical forecaster or something. Who else? There's Eichmann, who apparently is, I guess, a super genius, because Billy was like, oh, we get to work with it. I forgot his first name. Something Eichmann. Mironov is Sergey. Sergey is our, I guess, sex marquise. He's the one that goes up one-on-one with a Gundam and gets his ass kicked, which is, I guess, not the sex marquise, because sex marquise, in my opinion, I still say, kicked Hero's ass in the first encounter.
Well, he's the one who's done the best against the Gundam so far.
I mean, you could say that, sure. Literally, what did he do at the end of the day? Grabbed the face with one hand and held on for more than 5 seconds.
I mean, his reaction times were faster than anyone else's, too, as well, so.
Who else do we got? Who else do we have that we could actually say anything about? Colasar is an ace who's only got simulated hours.
Huh?
That's what I'm saying. We don't have a lot about these people. And I know my flippancy...
It's early.
My flippancy started off with the fact that these people do not have personalities. And that's why I was talking about the episode 1 next time on. The act of being a Gundam Meister means not having any emotion. It's like, oh, yeah, that was one of my problems. But then again, I mean, coming off of stuff like Gundam Wing or back then Iron-Blooded Orphans. Because I remember talking to Griffin, like, about Seed. It's like, well... Sorry, I'm self-editing what I can and can't say as I'm going here. Shows with characters with more personalities. And Griffin was like, oh yeah, and see, they went the entire opposite direction.
Yeah.
I think the idea is that, I think he was saying that they course-corrected from Seed to this by removing some personality from characters, because some characters in Seed had too much personality.
They tone it down, certainly.
Yeah.
But even then, so far, it hasn't affected the way I feel about them.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm saying in hindsight, this is better than I gave it credit for the first time around. Probably because, again, I don't mean to get, blow smoke up your ass here, Lessons, because you're not drowning. That it's a better watch through with you, I feel like, because we're asking questions, and those questions are, being responded to, almost immediately in, the next couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's a nice progression too. Yeah,
our more poignant question is how do you handle the suppression of a people through non-military means? And then they show us in this episode, literally the next recording session after we asked that, with the narcotics being burnt to the ground. And you're pointing out that these people now are no longer have that way of life that they had before. But granted, this is probably not the good guys.
I mean, they were the villagers. We never see them with rifles or killing people. Like they're just looking at
Yeah, but they're in
burning fields. Yeah.
The thing that supports them is also supporting the death and ruination of how many other people.
Yeah.
Can you be complicitly innocent in an evil act?
I mean, there's an aspect of I don't want to get into a real.
Yeah, I mean, there's a greater element of free will, right?
Yeah.
You don't choose where you're born, or your inability to move away from a situation or change the situation from which you were tied to. That these people that are growing this stuff and may even be subjected to by the people with guns to have to do this stuff, so they may not have any ability to change their lives. So, is there anything that they could have done to get out of this? And the answer may, at the end of the day, be no. But in which case, that doesn't change the fact that what they're supporting by supporting themselves is bad.
I mean, especially when it comes to drugs, it's complicated because I am
careful now. This is recorded.
Yeah, I know. I'm not afraid to say. I'm a big end the war on drugs because clearly the drugs have won kind of personality. I mean, I'm an anti. What's it called? What's the date with alcohol? The 1920s. Oh God.
Prohibition. You're anti-prohibition. You're taking that harsh stance of being anti-prohibition.
Anti-prohibition against alcohol and other substances.
So you're pro-mafia, is what I'm hearing.
No, actually, being pro-prohibition is pro-mafia because they're the ones who benefit from the prohibition. Like, if you can get the stuff from normal channels,
propaganda
you get
side.
it from illegal. Yeah.
So I was talking propaganda side. If you were in the time and you say you're anti-prohibition, so you're pro-mafia.
Pro-mafia, yeah. Which is, but it's complicated. But that's my general stance on it.
I guess the argument against the war on drugs is that you were then asking the taxpayer to support other people's drug habits.
The taxpayer always ends up supporting the drug habits.
Yeah. But I mean, at that point, you're just trying to mitigate. You're trying to mitigate those costs.
You can mitigate those costs actually by education and treatment, because the real problem is not the drugs, it's the addiction. It could be addiction to drugs, it could be addiction to sex, it could be addiction to gambling, to alcohol, to cigarettes. It's how we deal with addiction, including
I just want to throw out there real quick, because it sounds like I'm coming off really right-wing, and I'm not. I'm extremely liberal. It's just the idea that I'm trying to preface what the counter-argument might be, because we got nobody here who actually supports the counter-argument.
Yeah. I think that after 80, depending how you measure, between 50 to 100 years or more trying to beat the drugs always win. The drugs always win. You're fighting the drugs, and the drugs are like, we're substance. We don't care. We're just chains. We're molecular chains. We don't give a shit. We just exist. People will huff paint if they don't, if they can get coke, or they'll make their own drug labs and make
crocodile.
There's
the effects of crocodile.
Yeah, they will find a way, right? I mean, I grew up in the heart of, don't do drugs and all that, and I watch a lot of people who did the drugs, and some people bounced up, and other people didn't survive, including my own brother. May you rest in peace. So,
I mean, I've already told you plenty of times my cousin getting the shit beaten out of him with a weight set in the back of his car because he was dealing drugs back in the day. So
to me, this is not theoretical or distant. It's something that's,
Well, I don't know. I consider the fields of. I think we can all imagine where this place was, even though they told us a name that didn't ring any bells to me. When you imagine what we got shown, the place that got burned down was, it is distant in that respect, because that is a large-scale operation being controlled by a cartel of some sort, I imagine, versus homegrown operations here on this side of the world.
Yeah. Not that I'm pro cartel, because those guys can go fuck themselves, but they are perfectly willing to murder and kill just to get to the profits. I'm more like, don't even give them the scenario in which they can do that, right? Also, the most profitable companies in the world are the people who actually make the legal drugs,
which are themselves also evil.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was like don't frame the actual I forgot what the name I was going for here. I don't want to use big pharma because that's just a trigger word itself. But medical companies aren't always good.
No, it's your money or your life.
Hey, it's known that I'm taking like chemo meds, and when I get like the what we charge your insurance thing, like $32,000 for a month's supply, like fucking Christ, if I didn't have insurance, what would I be doing right now?
Yeah.
But then again,
And
that's also the evil of insurance companies, because conceivably, without insurance, they wouldn't be charging me that much anyway. It'd be a couple hundred, I'm sure. But they're charging the insurance company that much because the insurance company exists to make things more expensive, so that they can get paid more for it.
And now you have insurance companies who also own pharmacies, who also own hospitals, and they have stakes on the pharmaceutical companies. So it's like, oh, we make the drug, we sell you the drug, that we charge you for the drug, and you have to take the drug in our hospitals, and everybody's just upping the cost.
And, circle back around, how the fuck does Celestial Being fight that? Like I said, at the end of the day, it's not under Celestial Being's purview. Celestial Being is to fight conflict.
Yeah, well, that's their self. That's another problem. It's their purview. It's their self and post purview, right? They could change at any time. It's like, by the way, we're going to change the rules. Like, but you set up the rules. Yes, we did. We can say whatever we want, right?
Because they didn't say that they were here to make the world better in every respect.
Yeah,
they're just here to fight the one thing, which is fighting.
I guess the interesting thing, and we might,
So I'm just saying, at the end of the day, they're not fighting fires. Right? They're not going around the world, oh, there's a fire here, let's put out the fire. Because they're not making the world a better place for everything. Right? They're not, we're Superman now. We have to respond to every negative thing. Cat in a tree, there's a fire. Person standing on the edge of a cliff going to commit suicide. We're going to be there to talk him down. They're here for one very specific thing, and that's what they told everybody that they're here to do.
But it's still kind of questionable. Not what the end goal is necessarily, because they told us in the most direct way possible. It's what they envision the world being after. Can they truly, get rid of all conflict? Because what happens when Celestial Being hangs up their guns, if they can ever do that, right? What happens to people if the nations of the world say, oh, yeah, fine. How about we all team up to take down Celestial Being? And then we go back to whatever it is that we were doing. It's like, oh, shit.
Well, I mean, there wouldn't be a world after Celestial Being.
What do you mean?
That Celestial Being is setting itself up as a all-time police force, essentially.
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be a world after Celestial Being. There would be a world with Celestial Being forever.
Which is also a problem, because once an institution becomes established, it then seeks to affirm itself, right? In other words, it will look for excuses to continue to exist. Like, oh yeah, but we stopped fighting. Yeah, but you look like you're going to be fighting. Like, but we're not.
Conceivably,
see what I'm saying?
Conceivably, there doesn't need to be conflict for Celestial Being to exist. You're saying that it would need to affirm itself by having an excuse to exist. Celestial Being exists to prevent fighting, or to fight fighting with fighting. It doesn't need fighting to exist to have that be the thing. It's an independent force created by itself for itself, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to have an excuse to exist. It's not like we need funding. Here's a fight that's happening. Give us more funding so we can fight that fight. It is, we made ourselves. So it doesn't have to answer to anybody to make a reason for it to exist. So we are the police. We will be here forever. Oh, good. There's no fighting. You don't need us. We'll still be here, though. Because without the threat of us, fighting will happen again. So the threat of the possibility of combat, we will still be here for. I'm saying, they created themselves. They don't have to justify their existence to anybody, because in fact, they're imposing themselves on everybody. So there's no justification necessary.
No, but every organization, outside organization, justifies itself to itself, basically, and everyone else.
Well, that's what I just said. The possibility of fighting implies that justification forever.
It also depends on whether they can maintain the technological advantage over everybody, because that's the thing that they have. They are more powerful per unit than everyone else. The moment that disappears, or people think they can beat them, and they are defeated, then it's like, oh, well, you're not that powerful, are you? We don't have to listen to you.
Well, I mean, at the moment that you actually the point that we brought up, or you brought up, is the act of suppressing everybody to the point where everyone does stop fighting. At which point, you have free reign to make sure that nobody does surpass you.
But that again means you have to attack any research and development.
No.
The facilities.
No, it means that you just get whatever research development they're doing. Hey, that's cool. You can have that. Also, we'll take whatever notes you have as well, so that we can maintain our advantage.
But if they say no, then you have to attack them to destroy them. I mean, that's the only card you have. It's violence.
I mean, obviously you couldn't do that because that's your mandate not to do that.
Well, then they don't have to give it to you. You have no power to demand it. If you have a gun, right, and you want something from me, and you tell me, hey, Lessons, give me this, and I say no.
Oh, well, now you're just leaning on the threat of force when no threat of force need be exist. You're saying if I have a gun, you never said I'm pointing a gun at you. You're just saying I know you have a gun, and I ask you for something, and you are afraid I might use gun, even though I might have no impetus to use said gun. You say no, I walk away, but you're afraid you'll say no, and I'll shoot you in the head. That's one thing. I don't know. That's such a weird territory to be in. That's the whole power dynamic thing, which is hard to read into because, yeah, it's there, but one side doesn't have to do anything for that power dynamic to exist. If your boss tells you to do something and the boss thinks it's just a request and you are afraid for your job, so you do it, the power dynamic there is that your boss has power over you. The boss might not even think about it. The boss is just living their life, doing their thing, and they make a request. You, who has fear that your boss fucking doesn't like you or something, jumps to, and it turns out to be a bad thing that you've done. The power dynamic there then exists. It's the same sort of thing you're projecting here. I have a gun. You're afraid because I have a gun. For me, the gun means nothing. For you, the gun means everything.
But no, I think you're taking this in the wrong take, because in this scenario, I would say no, right? Let's say, again, you demand something from me and say, no, I'm not going to do it. What's your options? Accept that you're not going to get it, or use
again, because you're throwing out there, I demand something. I never said anything about demand. You've made that a fart. You made that a fart. You made that a part of your...
Or you ask. Or, you know, it could be a demand, it could be asking.
Well, no, I'm saying the difference here is that you said, I have a gun. Now you're saying I'm demanding. Well, that implies a thing that's happening between us where I'm being threatening and you know I have a gun, versus I ask you for a thing. Does not imply I'm being threatening, but I still have a gun. Right? If we're just, you know me, and you know I have a gun. I mean, at this point, everyone would know celestial being. You know me, and you know I'm armed. Doesn't mean I'm going to shoot you. And at this point, everyone should know what celestial being's about.
Yeah.
We fight fighting. So, even if I demanded something from you, it should be at that point where I could demand something from you, and you know that I'm not going to fight you.
Then I don't have to give it to you, which means I could do the research until such a time I feel confident that I can take you on, and the fighting resumes.
Well, at that point, though, you're aiding and abetting, which is something we've already covered before. No, because you're saying, until the point where I think I can fight you. I think at the moment you start expressing, I'm doing this to fight you, I can stop you there.
And how do you stop me?
There's plenty of non-violent means. One, I can apply pressure to the government that's supplying you money. If it's an independent source, I can apply pressure on that. At the end of the day, someone's going to be aiding and abetting you.
Financial means to do that? Because the only
apparently we've got a fucking spaceship and 4 of the most advanced fucking things you've ever seen before. The money's coming from somewhere.
Yeah, but the thing is that the only thing that they managed to express to be their primary way of doing is fighting. It's using violence.
Because it's episode 3, my man. We've seen the little Chinese girl and her bodyguard, and the red suited guy and the green haired dude. They're not fighting. What are they doing? There's clearly something else going on around in the background.
Well, let's see how it works. But also, no, this is a rabbit hole. We could be here hours discussing, so I'm not going to go there until we have more information. Suffice it to say that, again, the intentions are good. On the surface, it looks like, yeah, let's stop all this nonsense, fighting, death, dying, destruction, etc. But like I said before, it's statement good, but.
Oh no, I mean, I've already said in my more flippant responses that I think this is a stupid idea. For one thing, it doesn't work unless you're already in control of greater force than is present in the rest of the entire fucking world. So, in what niche case scenario would that ever come up? Like, modern day, what would you... There's no, like, modern day equivalent unless you literally were Superman.
Or an army of Supermen. So you could be in enough places at the same time, too.
Well, technically, Superman's fast enough to be in every place at the same time if he wanted to be. It doesn't make for an interesting story. Literally, I was watching something about Warhammer 40k lore, and it's like the Tyranids are such a fucking interesting premise, but you can't really tell a story from their perspective because they're just one thing.
Yeah.
You know, they come in, they're a hive mind, so you get, one voice, and they eat everything. Cool. Not a lot you can do with that. What happens if Superman solved all crime in a day?
Yeah.
For one thing, that would change the whole premise of the DC universe in a moment, and boom, we're done.
I mean, that was kind of what Superman was doing in Quest for Peace, basically. I want to get rid of all the nuclear weapons, you know.
And he did.
He did.
And, not all fighting... You know how much fighting has been done with nuclear weapons?
None. Oh, twice.
It's like, you're kind of forgetting some of the story.
Yeah, 2 big examples, yeah. Like, well, actually...
And then the rest of his history after that is the threat of nuclear weapons, which, not for nothing, kept everything conventional for a really long time.
Like what's for. Anyway, yeah, it's a rabbit hole. I think we will continue to revisit as we go along in the series, definitely.
All right. Well, with all of that said, once again, I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?